My name is Nathan Castro. I'm 24 years old. I'm a music composer and game developer. For my education, I started with a French Baccalaureate of Science, where I specialized in physics. I was really into music at that point. I was creating music, a lot of music, and so I thought, okay, what I want to do is music making. So I moved to Liverpool, where for a year I did a course called Media, Music and Sound. It turned out that although music making was my passion, I was not meant to work in that industry. It was just not for me. So after 1 year, it was a terrible year anyway, but after 1 year I decided to move to London to do a Bachelor of Computer Science in Music Computing, because I play a lot of video games and I was already interested in the coding aspect of it, but because I was also very interested in music making, I thought, well, maybe I can find a link between these two. And so it was a 3-year degree. The first year was mainly about programming music, and so I got to learn everything about just sound, what is sound, how to manipulate it, what function to use when, what filter does what, why it does it, and just build everything from the ground up, which I adored. It was amazing because it was so different from music making. It was just a lot more educational. I got to learn a lot of things. So the first year was a lot about Max MSP, which is a visual scripting language that we'll see afterwards, where you just build everything from the ground up by connecting cables and everything. I did a bit of processing. I did a bit of Java, and I was introduced very slowly to Arduinos. But then on the second year, as I started to really enjoy coding and enjoy coding more than music making at that stage, and again, because I was an enthusiast gamer, I really wanted to get into coding video games. So the second year was mostly spent in C++, using Open Frameworks library because they have a great it's a great library to create video games and quick graphics, and also introduce audio, which I still very much wanted to bring together. So my second year was mostly built making just video games, but with audio as a medium or a theme. I did a bunch of games the second year, and I was slowly introduced to Unity at that point. And the third year was really focused on virtual reality. By then I got my own kit, and I was really eager to just try and develop for it. And this is where I started making bigger, more serious project, still encompassing an aspect with audio or sound or something, as we'll see. So I did a lot of Unity and a bit of Lua here and there. On my spare time. This was broad aspect, obviously. I did a bit of Python, I did a bit of PHP, HTML, CSS, all this stuff during these 3 years, but this is really what I focused on. So after London, I wanted to go somewhere else, so I decided to move to Sydney, where I did a study abroad program here at UTS for 6 months. It was probably the best 6 months I've had work-wise. It was just very rewarding to work non-stop for 6 months in just one big project from start to finish, and it was just great to be able to just not see what video game making is about, but also how to target your audience, how to play test it on people, get their feedback, modify the game according to that, and write a paper and how to publish it and all this stuff. So this was just great. It was 6 months of new stuff for me, a lot more professional stuff. So I absolutely loved it. And because I had a bit of spare time, because it was just one program, I did a bunch of online courses during those months. One in C++ programming that was just, I already had some quite a good knowledge of C++, but I decided to just do an online course to just, first of all, just confirm my knowledge, and also just have some kind of proof that I did. And I did another one in C# Masterclass. This was just because I'm very familiar with C# through Unity, but this is just a video game making aspect of it. I just wanted to know more about the language, and this was great because it encompasses everything from just software development on Windows, where you just build an application rather than just a video game. And it did finish with a few video games on Unity, so it was just great. Did a bit of everything. So yeah, you can find both of these certificates online. You can find everything I just said online, of course. But yeah, in terms of work experience, so while I was at Goldsmith University in London, I founded, along with a few friends, a society called Hacksmiths, where later on we named it the Goldsmiths Tech Society, where we got to create a lot of hackathons and global game jams and just in general big events, and this was great because I got to learn how to get a sponsor on your side, budgeting, and safety, how to bring people in, make sure the space is safe to use, everything's available, all this stuff. So this was great for event organizing. I learned a lot during these 3 years, and I'm so happy to know that it has exploded and it still works. It's still amazing today. You can obviously go on their website. It's on my website as well. And it's great. It was all about inclusivity, so we really wanted to have everyone from every background be able to play around with technology. And I really enjoyed these 3 years of my life. Unfortunately, as I started to change country, it was harder to stay part of it. But I learned a lot during these 3 years at the university. And after I was done, in between Sydney and London, I worked for about 6-8 months at Viori, which is a virtual reality hiring company, where again I did a lot of event organizing. So again, I had to call clients, tell them what we did. Set up the venue, go there, make sure everything's fine, set up all the kit and everything, and yeah, make sure the event goes well. And obviously, in between all this stuff, and now I've been making a lot of video games on my own, obviously, and applications and music and all this stuff. So we're about to jump into it right now. So I thought it'd be nice to just quickly go through some of my projects so you get an idea of what I do. For example, this one was so this is MaxMSP, this is the virtual scripting language I was talking about, where I modified my PS4 controller to play as an instrument. It's fairly complex, so going through it would take a while, but basically, so the language goes as follows. You've got some cables that you connect to objects, which each have a little function, and you can try your best to make it look sort of nice. It doesn't always work out because obviously it's not meant for it, but just to say, I've built a lot of installations and audiovisual installations using that program, and it taught me a lot about sound and audio in general. So this is another application I made, mobile application. The idea is to replace expensive kit and stuff with just a software virtual instrument for people to play around with while they use their own instrument. So you basically plug in your guitar, piano, anything to the computer, and then you can change many things on your instrument. So for example, add a delay, LFO, reverb, ring modulation, adjust the volume, low pass filter. You can choose whether you're playing a string instrument, a piano, or drum mode. You have a little mix for me, which basically just automatically adjusts some parameters for you. You can transpose your instrument. As you can see, everything is being sent and received live. It's using the accelerometer to change a few effects. That means if a guitarist wants to set the yaw of the phone to be an LFO, for example, well, it sounds really good. It's good fun to play around because you're playing a guitar and you're moving around. It's just very interactive and very natural. You can record, play, and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's fairly complex. I cannot. It would take too long to go through everything. This is also just a small collection of some of the little mobile mini games I've made. I apologize for the lag on the screen recording. I don't have my equipment at the moment, so I'm just working with what I've got. So this is obviously an endless runner. You have a little piece of paper you have to solve and go through a few puzzles. Eventually bring the piece of paper in the bin with the least amount of swipes, as the piece of paper gets smaller every time it hits a wall. This is a little game I made for my sister and brother when they surprised me and came 2 weeks here in Australia, so I had 2 weeks to surprise them by making a little video game for them. So this is them fighting the big spider in the reptile park here in Sydney. And this is the house anyway. So this is a lot of just tailored games. This is another one. This one's coded in Lua, called the Connor Chronicle. It's about a dude. He's allergic to everything but seaweed crackers, and so represented here by his life. And if you get hit too many times, well, you get squished. This is a little tic-tac-toe I made for two people that were very competitive with each other, so I just gave them an excuse to fight even more. This is another mobile game where you just, it's another kind of endless runner called Zigzag, where you just go forever and collect crystals. Obviously this is a very small sample, but just to give you an idea of the games I make. In terms of bigger games, this is part of my serious games, which Inkwell, so this is my research project that I did here in Sydney. The player is in a completely dark maze, so completely blinded. He has to reach the exit, find 3 keys and reach the exit. The key concept of the game is that you can paint on walls, and so as you start to touching around the level, this is all in virtual reality, as you start to touch the level a bit everywhere, you start to have a sense of where things are, and so it's about using techniques to just remember where you are, using patterns on the wall. And the idea was to sympathize with blind people and try to come up with real world solutions, and it worked really well. I was very happy with that project. Alright, well, I mean, I obviously have more stuff to show. I can't pack it all up in a 10-minute video, so but you can find a lot of stuff on my website, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much me.